When your horse plants their feet and refuses to move, what goes through your mind? Frustration, probably. Maybe embarrassment if someone is watching. Maybe the word stubborn crosses your mind before you even realize it. And you would not be alone. That word gets attached to horses more than almost any other animal on the planet. But here is what the science of equine behavior has quietly been proving for the last 2 decades. Stubbornness, as humans understand it, does not exist in horses, not in the way we mean it. What looks like defiance is something else entirely, something your horse has been trying to communicate every single time in the only language they have. And once you understand what that language is actually saying, you will never look at a so-called stubborn moment the same way again. Stay with me through all of this, because point 4 is the one that changes how most people ride for the rest of their lives. And the final point is something that horse owners almost never get told, but probably need to hear more than anything else. 1. Your horse is not ignoring you. They are overwhelmed. Picture the moment. You ask your horse to move forward. They do not. You ask again. Still nothing. Maybe they back up. Maybe they swing their head. Maybe they just stand there, frozen, like the request never reached them at all. Most people read this as willful refusal, but equine behaviorists have a different name for it. They call it a threshold response, and understanding what that means changes everything. Horses are prey animals. That fact sounds simple, but the implications run through every single behavior they have. A horse's nervous system is not wired the way yours is. It is wired to survive. It is calibrated to detect threat, process it instantly, and respond before conscious thought even enters the picture. When a horse hits their threshold, they are not choosing to disobey. Their nervous system has essentially taken over. The thinking brain goes quiet, and the survival brain gets loud. Dr. Stephen Peters, a neurologist who spent years applying human brain science to horse behavior, described it this way. A horse at threshold is not being difficult. They are being a horse. The signal you sent simply could not get through because every available resource in that animal's brain was pointed somewhere else. At whatever felt dangerous, at whatever felt wrong, at whatever their body was screaming at them about that you could not see. So the next time your horse stops and will not go forward, the first question is not why won't they listen? The first question is, what are they hearing that I am not? 2. That pinned ear is a full sentence. You just never learned to read it. Horses are not subtle. That is the thing most people get backwards. We assume horses are hard to read because we are not fluent, but horses are actually broadcasting constantly. Their ears alone carry more emotional information than most humans ever learn to decode. When a horse pins their ears flat against their skull, the usual interpretation is aggression, and sometimes that is accurate. But pinned ears during a ride, during grooming, during saddling, are more often a sign of something else entirely. Discomfort, pain, anticipation of something that hurt before. Dr. Sue Dyson, a veterinary researcher who has spent decades studying equine pain behavior, identified a cluster of facial expressions in horses that signal physical discomfort with a reliability most people would find startling. Ears back, tension above the eye, a subtle tightening around the mouth, an asymmetry in the nostrils. None of these are dramatic. All of them are meaningful. Her research found that a significant number of horses labeled as difficult, resistant, or stubborn by their owners were actually horses in pain. Ulcers, saddle fit issues, back soreness, joint pain that never got diagnosed because the horse could not say where it hurt, and the behavior got misread as attitude instead of a message. Here is what that means practically. Before you decide your horse has a behavioral problem, their body deserves a conversation first, because that pinned ear might not be a personality flaw. It might be the only way they know how to say this hurts. 3. A horse that spooks at nothing is actually tracking everything. You are on a trail you have ridden 100 times. Your horse has been calm, forward, perfectly manageable. And then, for no visible reason, they slam on the brakes, spin sideways, and your whole body lurches. You look around. There is nothing there. just trees, just wind, just the same trail you have always ridden. And you think, what is wrong with this horse? But here is what you missed. There was something there. You just do not have the equipment to detect it. Horses have a range of sensory perception that dwarfs ours in almost every measurable way. Their hearing can detect frequencies well above and below human range. Their vision covers nearly 350 degrees, picking up movement in their peripheral field that registers before their conscious mind even processes what moved. Their sense of smell is built for a world where identifying a predator 2 minutes before it arrives is the difference between living and not living. When your horse spooks at what looks like nothing, they have almost certainly detected something. A vibration in the ground, a scent carried on the wind, a change in the light that hit the tree line at an angle that looked, for just a fraction of a second, like something moving that should not have been. Researcher Evelyn Hange, who has studied equine perception and cognition for over 2 decades, found that horses can discriminate between visual details at distances and under conditions that humans simply cannot replicate. They are not overreacting to nothing. They are reacting accurately to something. The gap between what they sensed and what you saw is not a flaw in the horse. It is a difference in the hardware. Knowing that does not always make the spook less inconvenient, but it makes the horse less of a mystery. 4. Resistance during training is often the clearest feedback you will ever get. This is the point that changes things for most people, so stay with it. When a horse resists during training, braces against the bit, refuses a lead, shuts down in the arena, the instinct is to work through it, to add pressure, to be more clear, more firm, more insistent. But equine learning science has spent the last 30 years building a case for something different. Resistance is information, not interference, not stubbornness, information. Horses learn through pressure and release. That is the foundation of almost every training method on the planet. Pressure is applied, the horse offers the correct response, pressure is released. The release is the reward. The release is what teaches. When a horse braces or resists, they are almost always telling you one of 3 things. The pressure is unclear, the pressure is too much, or they do not yet have the physical or mental preparation to give you what you are asking for. Andrew McLean, an equine scientist at the Australian Equine Behaviour Centre, has documented extensively how horses that are labelled as problem horses overwhelmingly share one history. They were pushed past their understanding before they had the foundation to succeed. And their resistance was there all along, a signal that got labeled wrong and pushed through instead of listened to. The horses that trainers call honest are not the ones that never resist. They are the ones whose resistance got heard early enough that it never had to get loud. Think about that the next time your horse says no in the arena. They might be the most honest training partner you have ever had. You just have to be willing to hear what no actually means. 5. Your emotional state is their environment. Here is something that does not get said enough. When you get on your horse frustrated, they do not know why you are frustrated, but they know you are, and to them it matters enormously. Horses in the wild depend on herd members to read and respond to each other's emotional states in real time. If one horse is alert and tense, the whole herd recalibrates. If one horse is calm and grazing, it is a signal to the others that the world is safe right now. You are part of that system whether you signed up for it or not. The moment you are in your horse's presence, you are a piece of emotional data they are constantly processing. Research conducted at the University of Guelph found that horses not only respond to human emotional states, they actually mirror them. Horses paired with calm handlers showed lower heart rates and more relaxed behavioral profiles than horses paired with tense or anxious handlers, even when the handlers were not doing anything overtly different. The horse was reading something invisible to everyone else in the room. Your cortisol, your breathing pattern, the micro changes in your posture and muscle tension that happen automatically when you are stressed. So when your horse is acting up and you get tighter and more frustrated, you are not helping them through it. You are adding to it. You are becoming more evidence that something is wrong. This is not a criticism. It is just the mechanics of what is happening. The horse that seems to feed off your anxiety is not being manipulative. They are being accurate. You are the weather in their world, and they are responding to the forecast. 6. The horse that finally stands still is telling you something too. We spend so much time talking about the horse that will not stop moving, will not stand, will not settle. But there is another moment that deserves just as much attention. The moment they finally do. When a horse lowers their head, sighs, lets their lower lip go soft, cocks a hind leg, and just settles in your presence, that is not nothing. That is one of the most significant things they can offer you. Equine behaviorists call it a relaxation response, and it is not automatic. It does not come because the horse got tired. It comes because something in their nervous system made a decision. Safe. This is safe. I can let go here. Temple Grandin, the animal behaviorist whose work transformed how we understand livestock stress and cognition, has written about the physiological difference between an animal that is compliant and an animal that is genuinely calm. Compliance can be trained through pressure. True calm cannot. True calm is given. When your horse drops into that stillness beside you, they are not being lazy. They are not zoning out. They are telling you, in the language that costs them the most to speak, that you are the place where their nervous system is allowed to rest. That is not a small thing. That is the whole thing. That is every ride, every grooming session, every quiet moment in the pasture adding up to a verdict. And the verdict is you. You are the reason they can breathe. 7. What you called stubborn was actually a conversation you did not know you were having. Here is where it all lands. Every pinned ear, every planted foot, every spook, every brace, every refusal that made you question whether this horse even likes you. Those were not malfunctions. They were not personality defects. They were attempts. Attempts to tell you something their biology gave them no other way to say. Horses do not have the option of sitting down and explaining themselves. They have their body. They have their movement. They have the angle of an ear and the tension in a jaw and the weight shift in a hindfoot. That is their entire vocabulary. And they use every bit of it, every single day, with a consistency and an honesty that most humans cannot match. The research of Léa Lonsod at the French National Institute for Agricultural Research found that horses not only remember individual humans across long periods of time, they form distinct relational profiles for each person they know. They track how you make them feel. They remember whether you listened. They remember whether the pressure made sense or whether it just kept coming regardless of what they said back. Your horse has been building a file on you since the first day you met. Every ride is a data point. Every moment you heard them and adjusted is remembered. Every moment you pushed through what they were saying is remembered too. That is not meant to create guilt. It is meant to create something more useful, awareness. Because the file is not closed. It never closes. Every time you go back to that barn, you get another entry. Another chance to show up as someone who came to have a conversation, not just give orders. Your horse is not stubborn. They never were. They were just waiting for you to learn their language. And the fact that you are here, asking what they are actually trying to say, means you already have.